Ever feel like life's really testing you, like pushing you to the absolute limit?
Yeah, pushing you to the edge.
That's where we're headed today.
The edge.
Into the world of David Goggins.
Oh, yeah.
And his book, Can't Hurt Me.
Intense.
It's an intense look at resilience, but like forged in the fires of a really tough upbringing.
And you know that's key here.
Yeah.
Goggins' story.
Yeah.
It's not just about like the physical feats.
Right.
It's about the psychological impact
Right.
of what he endured.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
your home.
Yeah.
Instead of being that safe haven,
Yeah.
it feels like a constant threat.
Yeah.
That was Goggins' reality.
And Goggins doesn't hold back.
No, he does not.
He describes his father, Trinus Goggins Sr.,
Right.
as volatile, abusive. You know, his dad ran Skateland, like a roller disco.
Right.
But behind that almost normal facade,
Yeah.
there was this like dark undercurrent of control and violence.
And this is where understanding toxic stress is so crucial. We're not talking about like the everyday stresses of life.
Yeah.
We're talking prolonged exposure to trauma,
Okay.
like Goggins experienced.
Right.
He recounts sleeping with a loaded gun under his pillow
Oh my gosh.
at 6 years old
Wow.
because that's where his dad kept it.
Wow.
The constant fear,
Yeah.
witnessing his mom's abuse,
Right.
enduring horrific beatings himself,
Yeah.
it rewires a child's brain.
It's heavy stuff. And it makes you wonder how anyone emerges from all that
Right.
with any sense of normalcy.
Right.
He even talks about Skateland.
Yeah.
This place that should be pure fun.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
But for Goggins,
Yeah.
it was intertwined with his father's infidelity,
Right.
his mother's entrapment,
Wow.
his own forced labor.
And those early experiences of toxic stress,
Yeah.
they cast a long shadow.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine your nervous system
Right.
on constant high alert.
Yeah.
It impacts emotional regulation.
Mm.
The ability to focus in school, even physical health later in life.
Right.
Goggins was later diagnosed with learning difficulties,
Yeah.
and it's hard not to see the connection there.
It's almost like his mind and body were primed for this fight or flight that
Yeah.
never really switched off.
Precisely. And in a way, that's what Goggins taps into later on.
Okay.
But he learns to channel it,
Okay.
to use discomfort as a tool for growth.
That's where the accountability mirror comes in.
Right.
He talks about this relentless self-assessment,
Yes.
but not in like a self-pitying way. It's more like, okay, this is where I'm messing up. I'm going to own it.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's like radical responsibility.
Yeah.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it can be the first step toward breaking free
Right.
from those ingrained patterns.
Instead of shying away from his flaws,
Yeah.
Goggins confronts them head on.
Head on. And that sets the stage
Right.
for this like unbelievable journey
Amen.
into the Navy SEALs.
Even knowing how tough Beauty's training is,
Right.
his description of Hell Week
I know, it's crazy.
is something else.
It's unreal.
Like the human body wasn't meant to withstand that kind of pressure.
And yet this is where Goggins' story
Right.
starts to illustrate the potential of the human mind.
Well,
It's about pushing past those self-imposed limitations,
okay.
not just physically,
Right.
but mentally and emotionally.
Right.
He talks about this incident during Hell Week,
Okay.
this open water swim.
Okay.
That becomes a turning point.
Okay, we have to talk about this swim.
Yeah.
Because it sounds terrifying.
It is.
Goggins is already running on fumes.
Yeah, sleep deprived.
Sleep deprived, injured, completely drained.
Yeah.
And then the instructors, knowing that he's terrified of open water,
Oh, no.
single him out
Oh, my God.
for this extra challenge.
Oh, no.
They essentially exploit his deepest fear,
Wow.
make him swim 1,000 yards offshore
Oh, God.
in a storm
During a storm.
to reach his boat.
Oh, my.
It's brutal,
That's brutal.
but it also reveals this crucial element of elite performance.
What's that?
Mental toughness.
Right.
This ability to regulate your response to stress
Yeah.
when everything in you is screaming to give up.
It's like everything is telling you to stop,
Right.
and somehow you just keep going.
Most people would have crumbled under that kind of pressure.
Of course.
But Goggins finds a way to tap into something deeper. He even admits to stealing the training schedule
Really?
at one point just to get a mental edge.
Wow.
He was determined to not just survive,
Yeah.
but to lead his boat crew.
Wow.
He had to be in charge. It's like he's discovered this inner strength,
Yeah.
like most of us don't even know we have.
We don't even know what's there.
And that's what fuels him
Yeah.
to go even further, even
Yeah.
after leaving the SEALs.
Yeah.
When this guy enters the San Diego one day,
Uh-huh.
a 100-mile ultra marathon,
Oh, wow.
On a whim.
Wow.
3 days notice.
No real training.
3 days notice.
Who does that?
That's crazy.
Like, who does that?
And this is where, like, that mind-body connection becomes really fascinating.
Yeah.
You see him pushing his physical limits, obviously,
Oh, yeah.
but it's his mental strategies
Right.
that are keeping him in the game.
Right.
He talks about hitting a wall at mile 70.
Okay.
His body is breaking down.
Oh, yeah.
Most people would call it quits right there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love how he describes this moment.
Yeah.
He says it's like this voice in your head
Oh, yeah.
is saying, dude,
Ode? Come on.
we signed up for this,
Bro.
but we didn't know it was going to be this bad.
We didn't know it was going to be like this.
Done.
Exactly.
And that's when Goggins introduces
Yeah.
this visualization technique
Uh-huh.
he calls the cookie jar.
Oh, the cookie jar. I love this.
Okay.
Okay.
So imagine this.
Yeah.
You've got a jar filled with memories.
Yeah. Of every obstacle you've ever overcome.
Yeah.
Every challenge you've conquered.
Right.
So instead of focusing on the pain,
Yeah.
the exhaustion,
All the negative.
Goggins reaches
Yes.
into his mental cookie jar
Yeah.
and pulls out a cookie.
He pulls out a cookie.
A memory of that time he pushed himself
Yes.
further than he thought possible.
It's so good.
It's about consciously shifting your focus
Yes.
from the present suffering
Yeah.
to past victories,
Right.
drawing strength from those experiences.
Exactly.
He used this technique
I love that.
to push through the last 30 miles of that race,
Oh, wow.
proving that sometimes the biggest battles
Right.
are won or lost
In our mind.
in our minds.
Exactly.
Such a powerful tool.
It is.
And it makes you realize we all have our own cookie jar,
We do.
right?
We all have those memories.
It's about recognizing those moments
Yes.
where we dug deep
Yeah.
and found a way through.
We all have them.
And then using those memories to fuel us in the present.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is that Goggins applies this
Yes.
to his failures.
Right. His attempt to break the 24-hour pull-up record,
Oh, yeah.
he didn't just fail.
Yeah.
He failed spectacularly
He did the first time around.
the first time around.
Yeah. It did not go well.
But instead of giving up,
Right.
he becomes obsessed with understanding why.
And this is huge.
Yeah.
This is a crucial lesson for everyone.
Yeah.
Especially like in a society that often stigmatizes failure.
Right.
You know,
Instead of hiding from it.
Goggins, what does he do?
Yeah.
He meticulously analyzes
Right.
his training, his nutrition,
Everything.
his mindset.
He looks at it all.
He identifies the weak points not to dwell on them,
Right.
but to learn from them.
It's like he embraces the failure,
He does.
almost as if it's this necessary stepping stone to success.
Precisely. And when he finally does break the record,
Right.
it's not just about the physical accomplishment. It's about conquering his own self-doubt,
Right.
proving that even our biggest setbacks
Yeah.
can be overcome with the right mindset.
Okay, but here's where things take a turn.
Okay.
Goggins gets diagnosed with this heart condition.
Right. Atrial septal defect.
An atrial septal defect.
Essentially, he's been pushing his body
right
to these extremes
to the extreme
with a hole in his heart.
with a hole in his heart.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a huge reminder
right.
that even someone
Yeah.
as seemingly invincible as Goggins
Right.
is still human.
Is still human.
And for him, it becomes this turning point
Okay.
towards self-compassion,
Self-compassion.
a concept that had been missing
Right.
from his narrative
Right up to this point,
up to this point.
he undergoes surgery.
Right.
And you'd think, okay, maybe now he'll slow down.
You would think.
Take it easy.
Right.
But of course, that's not Goggins' style.
But of course not.
Right.
Instead, he uses it as an opportunity for growth, a chance to refine his approach to challenge.
Okay.
He channels his energy
Yeah.
into inspiring others,
Inspiring others.
specifically focusing on recruiting people of color
Okay.
for the Navy SEALs.
Wow.
It's like he's recognizing that his uncommon path
Right.
doesn't have to be everyone's path,
Yeah.
but he can use his experiences
Right.
to guide and empower others
Right.
to find their own versions of uncommon.
And this is where his leadership skills
Yes,
really shine.
this is where they come out.
He's not just telling people to be tougher.
Right.
He's showing them that their potential is limitless,
Yes.
regardless of background.
It doesn't matter where you came from.
Right.
It's about where you're going.
He even develops this system,
He does.
the 24-hour mission,
Yes, the 24-hour mission.
to help people maximize their time and potential.
Yes, maximize your 24 hours.
So what is the 24-hour mission all about? Because it sounds like living with Goggins' level of intensity.
It could be a lot for people.
Which could be exhausting for a lot of people.
It's not about pushing yourself to the point of burnout.
Right.
It's about being intentional with your time and energy.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that life is a series of choices.
Okay.
And we can choose to spend those 24 hours in a way that either moves us closer to or further from our goals.
So it's about making those choices, you know, even in those little everyday moments.
Exactly, those small choices.
Yeah, to align with the person you want to be.
Yes. And it's not about being perfect every time.
Right.
It's about striving for progress.
Okay.
And Goggins talks about this.
Okay.
Callousing the mind.
Callousing the mind, okay.
Which is basically just training yourself to embrace discomfort.
Right.
And persevere through challenges.
So getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Like, it's okay to be uncomfortable.
Right.
That's where growth happens.
It's interesting, though, because for a long time, Goggins seems invincible.
Yeah.
Like almost like a machine programmed for achievement.
Totally.
But then he takes on this grueling challenge.
Okay.
The Badwater Ultra Marathon.
Oh, yeah?
And something shifts.
Badwater. Yeah, that's...
This race through Death Valley in the peak of summer.
Oh, yeah.
Notorious for its brutality.
It's brutal.
And even Goggins, with this extreme training regimen, hits a wall.
He hits a wall.
He describes his heart rate going haywire.
Yeah.
His body rebelling.
Like, even his body saying no.
Yeah, it's like for the first time he's acknowledging that there might be a limit to what he can endure.
There might be.
And this is a guy who's run 100-mile races on a whim.
Exactly, on a whim.
Right.
And this is huge for him because it's not just about, like, oh, I physically can't go any further.
Right.
It's this moment of respecting your limits.
Okay.
Even when those limits seem to contradict how you see yourself.
Right. And it makes you wonder, did all that pushing come at a cost?
Right. Was there a part of him that had been neglected in this relentless pursuit of achievement?
Yeah. And that's the question that Goggins starts grappling with.
Yeah, he does.
He talks about the strain on his relationships, the toll it took on his own well-being.
Right, his own personal well-being.
And it's in this moment of reckoning that we see him embrace a quality that's been largely absent up to this point. Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Not just gratitude for like what his body can do, but gratitude for the people in his life, the lessons learned,
for sure.
the journey itself.
It's huge.
Even the painful parts.
Especially the painful part.
Right, and this newfound gratitude extends to his past.
Okay.
Even his relationship with his brother, Tronus Jr.
Okay.
They had this complicated history, you know,
of course,
marked by trauma and estrangement. But Goggins makes the effort to rebuild that bridge.
It takes courage to do that.
It's like he's realizing that true strength isn't just about like conquering those external challenges.
It's the internal ones.
Right. It's about confronting those inner demons.
Yes.
Healing old wounds. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
And that is so powerful.
Right.
Especially today.
Yeah.
Where it's like...
where vulnerability is weakness.
Yeah, you're supposed to be strong all the time.
You can't show weakness.
Right.
But Goggins is showing us that it takes courage.
Yes, it does.
To acknowledge our pain.
Absolutely.
To forgive ourselves and others.
Forgive yourself.
And to move forward with compassion.
Yes.
So where does all this leave us?
Right.
Goggins' story is extreme.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
It's intense.
Right. But it's also surprisingly relatable.
It is.
Because we all have our own skateland.
Yeah.
Our own hell week.
We all have those moments.
Those moments that test our limits and force us to confront who we are.
Who you really are deep down.
And I think the key takeaway here...
what is it?
Is that we have a choice.
We always have a choice.
In how we respond to those challenges.
Yes. How are you going to respond?
We can choose to let them define us, become victims of our circumstance, or we can choose to use them as fuel for growth.
There you go.
Right? Tap into our inner cookie jar.
Love it.
Discover those reserves of strength we never knew we had.
Exactly. You got this.
And maybe, just maybe, Goggins' story reminds us that it's okay to embrace the full spectrum of human experience. The pain, the struggle, the triumph, and yes, even the failures.
All part of it.
Because it's in those moments of vulnerability that we often discover our greatest strengths and our deepest capacity for connection.
That's it.
So as you reflect on Goggins' journey, I think the question to ask yourself is...
I love it. What is it?
What cookie of resilience
Yeah.
can you bake into your life today?
What cookie are you baking?
What challenge have you been avoiding?
Right.
And how can you approach it?
How can you approach it differently?
With a renewed sense of courage and determination?
You are capable of amazing things.
Because remember, you're capable of more than you think.
You got this.